The evidence itself will be presented by the speakers who follow me. My job is to explain why you should regard this evidence as trustworthy and convincing and give it the weight that we say it deserves. As a preliminary matter, Mr. President, you may recall that I cut my morning speech a bit short in the interests of time. I will be including 2 excerpts from that speech this afternoon, and for the benefit of the esteemed interpreters, these inserts will come in paragraph 8 of the current speech after the 3rd line, and again after paragraph 36 of this speech. Mr. President, our case was filed in November 2019, shortly after the publication of a report in September of that year by a United Nations fact-finding mission appointed by the Human Rights Council and endorsed by the General Assembly. This was the second such report prepared by the FFM following its initial report of September 2018. Together, these reports comprise more than 600 pages and provide, inter alia, detailed descriptions of the so-called clearance operations carried out by Myanmar's army, the Tatmadaw, in northern Rakhine State, where the majority of the Rohingya group lived. In conducting their investigation and producing these reports, the FFM interviewed 1,294 victims, witnesses, perpetrators, and former Myanmar officials. They also reviewed satellite imagery, video and photo material, as well as internal documents, laws, policies, and directives of Myanmar. Taken together, the FFM's 2 reports appear to be the most voluminous, comprehensive, and detailed investigative reports ever produced by a United Nations fact-finding mission. These reports confirmed the Gambia's conclusion that Myanmar had committed genocide against the Rohingya Muslim group and that there was a compelling need to hold Myanmar accountable under the 1948 Convention by bringing these proceedings. After this case was initiated in 2020, the UN Human Rights Council established the Independent Investigative Mission for Myanmar to follow up on the FFM's work. According to its mandate, the IIMM would do so by collecting, consolidating, and analyzing evidence of the most serious international crimes and violations of international law committed in Myanmar since 2011, and to prepare files in order to facilitate and expedite fair and independent criminal proceedings. To this date, the IIMM has published 6 what it calls analytical reports, which are all part of the record of this case. And it has produced 41 witness statements, of which 12 have been introduced into evidence by the Gambia and 18 by Myanmar. Also part of the record is the affidavit of Assistant Secretary General Nicholas Koumjian, the head of the IIMM, in which he describes the mechanism's mandate and the work it has performed to date. The Gambia's evidence also includes reports from other authoritative United Nations bodies, including the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights and the Special Rapporteur on the Situation of Human Rights in Myanmar, as well as satellite imagery from UNISAT, the UN Satellite Center. Myanmar disagrees. It has 3 words for all of these reports and statements, quote, no evidential weight. They argue that our evidence should be rejected in its entirety by the court because none of it arose from judicial proceedings such as those conducted by the ICTY, cited by the court in the Bosnia and Croatia cases. For Myanmar, the court cannot rely on the reports of the UN fact-finding mission or of any other independent and authoritative non-judicial entity without, in their words, delegating its fact-finding responsibility to such third parties. Mr. President, it doesn't take a Newton, Professor Michael of Vanderbilt, or Sir Isaac of the English Enlightenment to appreciate the lack of gravity in Myanmar's argument. With the evidence so overwhelmingly against it, Myanmar has no choice but to invent a reason, no matter how unreasonable, to disqualify that evidence. Myanmar has got it completely wrong. In fact, the court has regularly relied on the reports of independent fact-finding bodies, especially UN bodies, to assist it in its own determination of the facts. To be sure, as its jurisprudence makes clear, it has done so only after carefully scrutinizing these reports to ensure that they meet the standards articulated in its case law for establishing their reliability. Doing so here would be consistent with the court's long-standing practice.
Jelajahi cara baru mendapatkan informasi. Download MetroTV Extend sekarang.